everyone, it's Lily, and today I'll be making a kind of summary video, an explanation video of the Otome games that have been announced for localization. I'm not gonna lie, I'm super hyped because we are spoiled for choice. We've got like 7 that have been announced. I mean, one's a mystery, but even so, it's like, this is so exciting for the Otome community. We always kind of didn't get choices, but now we have choices. Like, people are like, oh my... Anyway, I'm rambling on. But basically, I'll start with talking about the 2 that Idea Factory have announced, and then follow that by the 4 that Aksys have announced for localization. I will kind of basically give a brief sort of plotline description, as well as like little bits that I know about it and what I am personally excited about the games. Note that I have only played 2 out of the 6 that have been revealed, so the information that I gathered was kind of like from, you know, websites and Japanese reviews and stuff. Note that although I personally do not consider any of what I'm going to include in this video as spoilers, I'm aware that some people, you know, we all have different definitions of spoilers, so what I'll be including is literally, you know, a quick explanation of what the game is about, like how many characters, how many like love interests you have, and like kind of the pros and cons that I've heard of some of these games. So I just wanted to note that I won't be including any CGs or plot spoilers or character spoilers because I don't want to ruin it for myself either, so... But anyway, let me start. So firstly, Idea Factory. Now, my favourite game, one of my favourite games, and I'm going to really struggle being objective when I make this review, but one of my favourite games, yes, I've said that like 3 times now, Cupid Parasite is coming in English, and I am so excited. So let me quickly explain what the game is about. Cupid Parasite is about Cupid, as you probably guessed, and it's about Cupid who wants to go down to the human world to prove to her father that, you know, humans can matchmake just as effectively as Cupid herself can, if not more, with a bow and arrow. And so basically what happens is she goes down to the human world, much against her father's wishes, and then, you know, goes to university to learn about, like, I can't remember what the subject was, but then ultimately she ends up working at Cupid Corporation, where she's highly effective at matchmaking all these different people. And basically one day she gets called by the CEO into his office, and she's, you know, obviously worried because that could mean like all sorts of trouble. And then the CEO, so it's good news for her, I guess, the CEO goes, right, I'm giving you an opportunity for promotion. If you're able to matchmake these 5 guys, and he like dumps the profiles of all these 5 guys onto the table. He's like, oh, if you can matchmake these guys, then you will get promoted. And obviously she wants to get promoted because by being promoted, she can prove to her father that she's doing a really good job matchmaking. And of course, the 5 guys that, you know, appear to be difficult to matchmake are called the Parasite 5, and they all each individually kind of have reasons as to why everyone else in the company has struggled to matchmake them. And so I'm going to quickly go through like reasons to each one. I'll probably go into a much more deep review later on, like in another video. But you've got the parasite that just can't get over this girl. He just likes this girl too much. And you've got the one that cares too much about the way the girl looks. There's one that doesn't really care that much about finding love and cares too much about Greek mythology for some reason. And then you've got the one that's too busy with work and doesn't see the point in marriage and love and all this sort of thing. And then you've got the one that only can like people if they're already with someone. So they all have their issues, and this is definitely a love comedy, and it's one of my favourites because it's one of those games where you can really relax when you're playing it. So you know how even like rom-coms typically, like rom-com games and stuff, and I'm probably talking more to those who play unlocalized games here because I can't think of any super fun and happy localized games, but a lot of games, even if it's like a super happy game, you can't help but worry that, oh my gosh, I'm still scared about the bad endings, right? In Cupid Parasite, I kid you not, the bad endings are happy. So even the bad endings are funny or fun to watch, like play and read. And so it's one of those games, like, I have never felt so relaxed playing an Otome game before. And it's like a rom-com to that extent. And it's great because the romance is there, the comedy is there, you don't have to worry about anything, but the story is still good. And honestly, it's like one of my favorites. Like, I know this is not me being very objective, and some people may not be that into it, who knows? But for me, it was a really good game, particularly because it was so colourful, so pretty, and you know, the comedy, all of that. I know I keep on saying that, but so that's my summary of Cupid Parasite. And yeah, so you get 5 love interests and plus a secret route, so 6 different routes, and they're all very fun. Anyway, moving on. Next is Birushana Senki. Oh, you know, I haven't played this game, so looking into this was an absolute nightmare, honestly, like, because it's Japanese historical fiction, and that comes with a lot of kanji, and as much as I can read it, when it comes to names and things, I'm like, oh my gosh, and when it comes to historical jargon, I'm like, oh, what does that say? So there was a lot of Googling involved, definitely. But I have heard so many good things about Birushana Senki, so I'm not really that surprised that it was chosen for localization. But anyway, enough of me rambling. Let me quickly talk about what the story is. Basically, it's a story that's based in the Heian era of Japan. And it's about Minamoto Yoshitsune, which is the son of the head of Minamoto clan. And go back a few years, I know that I'm not making much sense, but basically the Minamoto clan and the Taira clan, there was like a civil war, and it was the Minamoto clan that lost, and that's when the head got killed. And it is his son the story is based on. And it's kind of like, basically the story is, what if Minamoto Yoshitsune was female? So the main character is Minamoto Yoshitsune as female, and she's like basically hiding the fact that she's female. She's always acting like she's male. So it's one of those otomes where the female main character is pretending to be a guy, and I believe some of the love interests know this. And you know, so because it's in the Heian period, and it's like kind of war and stuff, it is going to be a very tragic title as far as I am aware. This is why I was quite hesitant in playing it up until now. And yeah, basically I've heard that, you know, there isn't all that much like strong romance, because obviously they're always in war and stuff, but I think it's exciting that, you know, you learn bits of Japanese history during the Heian era as you go along. And I think they try and make it as, you know, close to the fact as possible, which is why it's probably quite tragic and why I've been so hesitant. But the art is gorgeous. For those who really like Japan and like the Japanese aesthetic, I think this would be like perfect for you guys, because honestly it's so pretty. And I think it's kind of cool that you've got your kind of comrades, but I think some of the love interests are also from like opposing clans and like the enemies and stuff. So it's kind of cool that you can you get the opportunity to date, you know, people that you would normally expect to date, but also like of the opposing side as well. And I believe there are 3 different types of endings. So you've got like your romance ending, which I guess is supposed to be like super happy romance. You've got the sad romance ending, which I'm guessing is going to make me cry 100%. And then you have the bad endings, which I imagine are things like the main character dies and like things like that. That's what I think is going to be the case, because I haven't played this game yet. And you know, I think it's cool that the main character is a female version of one of the most famous samurais, because like in Japanese history, because you know, it's just, I think it's quite original. Some of you may disagree with me, but I think it's quite original. And so like the key words for this title, I would say, is historical fiction, fantasy, like Japanese, Eastern, aesthetic. I guess that's not a keyword, but you know what I mean. And I've heard that there are some dark characters, and that's like my favorite thing. I love dark characters, you know, things like yanderes, psychos, crazies. So I'm really looking forward to playing this one dark character that people keep on mentioning. And apparently there are non-human characters as well. So for those who, I mean, I don't know how true this is. As I said, I kind of read some Japanese reviews and stuff, but I believe there is like non-human characters as well, although take that with a pinch of salt because I could have misread or something. But anyway, so that was tricky. I found that really that was a struggle to kind of explain. Now moving on to the Aksys announcements. So there were 4 different titles that they announced. I'm going to start with LoverPretend. So LoverPretend, I literally just did a review on. So I found it kind of funny when they announced it on the Aksys stream. I was like, oh my gosh, I did a review on that just now. So I just found it, like, the coincidence quite fun. And it's quite, as I said, I've already done a review, but I would say it's quite a kind of light, fluffy game. Now let me quickly say the story. So it's about the main character who is aspiring to be a screenwriter because she wants to follow her mother's footsteps. And one day, she kind of, she was going to university and she was helping her supervisor and stuff, but one day her supervisor, who is quite famous in the sense that he's, done screenwriting for multiple famous movies and dramas, is sort of like, so I'll be working on this movie that's in production, I'll be doing the screenwriting, will you be my assistant in this? And she's like, I'm not sure about it, but she realizes that the people who are involved, that are going to be involved in the development of this movie, are basically, I know this sounds really weird, but her potential father. And the reason I say this is because basically her mother died early and left her without knowing who her father is, and the father could potentially be someone who was involved in this one drama that her mother did screenwriting of, which was quite good. And a lot of the people who are involved in that happen to be involved in this famous new movie that's about to be produced. So she has her motives of looking for her father, as well as obviously advancing a career. So she's like, yes, I want to be involved. And so that's kind of like the simple story. And this is a very character-based game because it's kind of one of those where you've got 4 love interests, as well as kind of one secret, although very obvious, secret character. And basically it's a game where, in the common route you get to know these 4 different characters. And then once you pick, it's all about that character and how the main character and that love interest grows together. And it's very cutesy. Like, I thought I really enjoyed it in a kind of casual way. So it was one of those games where if you're playing like Piofiore and Birushana Senki, then maybe you want to play it in between, because you'll be really like heartbroken in one or the other, and then you need, like, your heart needs a break. So then you would play LoverPretend or Cupid Parasite. It's one of those games, like especially LoverPretend, because it's quite short and sweet and fluffy. So I really would recommend it to those who would want a fluffy, happy, you don't really need to think much kind of game. So the second title they announced was Kimi wa Yukima ni mau, which I'm going to just call as Kimiyuki because that's a long name, and excuse me to the people who developed it. But anyway, and it's a Japanese fantasy based in the Edo period. In the city of Edo, these incidents and accidents and terrible occurrences were happening because of like this monster or something, and in order to prevent that from, like, sort of deal with that, a sort of like almost undercover intelligence team was made called the Oniwa Ban. But anyway, it shifts, like 10 years or so later, and basically the main character is this girl who has this special ability where if she sees this, I don't know how to say it in English, but black strands, then that's where something terrible, she can predict that something terrible is going to happen there. And the people of the city find this really scary and unsettling. They go, oh, why can she tell, why, and she freaks them out. So what happens is that they basically shove her out of the city and make her live up in the mountains, in the snow, like deep in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. And so it's kind of like a bit sad that, you know, there's that tragic feel and sad loneliness you feel of the main character having to leave the city. It's kind of horrible when you look at it like that. And I think, you know, when this happens, she encounters one of the Oniwa Bang people, like one of the love interests basically. And I think, as far as I'm aware, it's a story between this girl with the supernatural powers and the guys from the Oniwa Band, and how like they as love interests evolved together. And I think there are non-human characters, like love interests in this as well. So I have heard so many good things about it, but I have avoided all spoilers because I have been told that even learning or knowing about the suggested route is a spoiler in itself. So my recommendation to anyone who's going to play it, including myself because I have yet to play it, is to just kind of play the characters however you feel it's fit. Because as I said, like just knowing or being suggested the route order is a spoiler in itself. So just thought I'd lay that out there. So the third title that was announced was Paradigm Paradox. Now this game is an interesting one. It's about magical girls. So you think it's an Otome game, and it is, but there are magical girls, and let me clarify this. Let me just quickly explain the story so that we remove all these confusions. The story is about, as always, the main character who is bored of her life. Basically, she lives in a world where humans have to live in colonies together in order to survive in this world where there are monsters. And basically, this main character is bored of her life, of like, you know, going to school and then going back home and like just living an ordinary life. And she's not even into the talk of the hot guys, because there's a bunch of hot guys apparently in this school. She's not even really interested in that. And so she's just living her life. And then of course one day, much against school regulations, she decides to sneak out of her dorm. And of course, because this is how shoujo manga and otome games cause things to happen, one of the monsters that happen to sneak into the sort of colony ends up attacking her, and she is lovely, like saved, swooped away by a magical girl. And as a result of this occurrence, she then gets recruited into this magical girl thing where she also has to become one of the heroes to save the citizens of this little colony. So she also becomes a magical girl. Now, all of a sudden, at her school, these attractive guys and her like interact more and like converse more and have more in common. So, and that's what it says in the synopsis. So I feel like what it is that the magical girls are the hot guys. And so to defend, you know, the colony from the monsters, I think what happens is the guys turn into the magical girls. So you don't romance the magical girls, you romance these attractive guys that turn into the magical girls that the main character does not know about. So she thinks that the magical girls and the hot guys are completely separate, as far as I can tell. So I think I have seen people on my Twitter and stuff saying, I'm not sure how I feel about a paradigm paradox, because I'm not really into like girls, so I don't know how I feel about romancing magical girls. Well, don't worry, you're not romancing the girls, you're romancing the hot guys which happen to turn into magical girls. Now obviously I don't really know how it works because I haven't played the game. However, I am intrigued, I want to know. So this I might actually buy the localized version of, just so that I can enjoy it with everyone else. But I think what also I found interesting in the game is that you can romance both, you know, your comrades but also your enemies. So, and although I have heard that the comrades are more like romancy and the enemies it's more like kind of friendship bordering onto romance, I like the fact that you get a choice between the good guys and the bad guys, you know? And one last thing I'd like to mention is that the voice actors are like this popular group or something called 8P, And though I don't really know that much about voice actors, if I'm to be completely honest, they did make a big thing out of it, so I think that's kind of like one of the key things to know about it. Now, last but not least, and I think everyone was like super hyped about this, is Piofiore Episodio 1926. So it's basically a sequel of Piofiore. To those who have not played it, Piofiore, there's already a main game that's already been released. It was released last year and I have made a review of it if you would like to know more. But briefly put, Piofiore is about the main character Lily and her getting like accidentally involved with multiple mafia men, and there's like a war between them and she gets all muddled up in it and it's absolutely chaotic, you know. Some of the men are incredibly dangerous, a lot of the bad endings are horrific, tragic. There's lots of steamy scenes though, and the romance is really good and I really enjoyed that game. It's very serious though, it's not really comedy, it's like lots of, as I said, tragic endings and things, and touches upon lots of mature themes. But Episodio 1926 is the sequel to that. So I did a little bit of research, as I keep on saying, and so it's basically got 3 different modes. It's got the Berlone mode, and I do have notes here and I keep on looking down at them because basically I can't pronounce these words, and excuse me if I pronounce them incorrectly, but there's this 3 modes: Berlone, Alternativa, and Henry modes. I'm sorry, I'm not good at pronouncing. But there's 3 modes. Now, Berlone is the kind of what happened after the best endings of Dante, Nicola, Orlok, and Gilbert. Oh, and Yang. How can I forget Yang, my favourite character? But anyway, so it's like the post stories of you know, the best endings. So it's sort of, they go through several issues after what happened, and there's lots of romance, and it's all very interesting. It is a sequel, so you get bad endings and good endings, I believe. And but apparently they've upped the romance, and I'm seeing they're going, how did they do that? Because Piofiore was already a very steamy game. How have they managed to make it steamy? I don't know, but hey, I'm looking forward to it and I'm not complaining. And the Henry mode is the same, but of the secret character, and if you haven't played the game, excuse me, but like basically there's one secret character called Henry, and you know, he's an extra. Henry mode is basically the same as Berlone mode, but like just for that one character. And the Alternativa is the post-truth route. So in the main game you had like one final route where you kind of, all the characters got involved and worked together. This is the kind of like the post-truth route is kind of like what happens after, where it's kind of like, again, a sequel, but basically it feels like a different story where they work together and get over this problem. So as I said, I haven't played it, so I can't really say for sure what it really entails, but I am super excited just simply for the one fact that apparently they've upped the romance. So I'm really looking forward to playing it. But anyway, that concludes my little summary video of all the games that were announced. Do feel free to comment down below if you have any questions, and I will answer them to my best extent, and I'm sure other people will look and answer them as well if they know the answer and I don't. Yeah, I'm just really hyped. I know I said it at the beginning, but I can't believe we're so spoilt for choice. You know, before it used to be like, oh my god, we're getting one Otome game. That was a miracle. Now we've got 6 to choose from in the future. No, I can't express how hyped I am more than I am right now. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and hopefully I'll see you in another one of my videos. Bye!